You're standing at a door inside the Star, Sydney one that isn't on any public floor plan. No sign, no number, and almost no one walking past knows it's there. Behind it, between 2013 and 2019, 900 million Australian dollars changed hands, and on paper, every cent looked like a hotel bill. One of the most heavily regulated businesses in the country, and nobody saw it. So here's the question. How do you move that much money through a casino without a single transaction ever looking like gambling? The room had a name that meant nothing to anyone outside it. Salon 95. A private, unbranded VIP suite, no floor plan entry, invitation only. This is where the money came in. Not wired, not transferred. Carried in blue cooler bags, the kind you'd take to a barbecue, stuffed with $50 notes banded in thick elastic. Between 2013 and 2019, the inquiry heard roughly 900 million Australian dollars, about 621 million US, at the July 2026 rate, moved through this system and came out dressed up as ordinary accommodation charges. And the casino's own bank was told a softer version of what those charges really were. Stay with me, I'm going to show you exactly how the room worked, step by step. Every casino has Wales players who bet more in a weekend than most people earn in a decade. The Star wanted them, and the way you get them isn't a better buffet or a bigger suite, it's access. That's where the junket comes in, a middleman who rounds up high rollers overseas, brings them to the casino, fronts their money, and takes a cut. The casino gets the action without ever touching the messy part, a layer of distance between the house and the money. And the ultimate perk a junket can offer isn't a free flight or a penthouse. It's a room. A private, unbranded room most people in the building don't even know exists. For a player moving $1 million in a night, secrecy isn't a perk, it's the product. But a room alone can't move that kind of money. That took a method. The junket that filled it, the inquiry heard, was linked to a company called Sun City, whose boss, Alvin Chau, was later convicted in Macau and jailed for 18 years. Next came the method that moved the money without anyone calling it gambling. This is Salon 95, not really a room, but a machine for turning gambling money into something that looks completely ordinary. Let me walk you through it, one step at a time. Step 1. The card. A high roller doesn't show up with a suitcase of cash at the border that gets flagged, counted, questioned. Instead, according to ASIC, players used China UnionPay cards, ordinary bank cards, swiped at ATMs and terminals inside the hotel. Step 2. The disguise. UnionPay's own rules didn't allow those cards for gambling, so the swipe couldn't be logged as gambling, it was logged as hotel spend, accommodation, room charges. And it's the perfect cover. A luxury hotel is one of the few places where a single guest running up hundreds of thousands in charges doesn't raise an eyebrow. The money didn't disappear. It just changed its name to something no one would ever question. Step 3. The cash. It came into Salon 95, the old-fashioned way, carried in. The inquiry heard it arrived in blue cooler bags, stuffed with $50 notes bundled in elastic. No armored trucks, no security detail, just bags set down on a desk. Step 4. The handoff. The bags were handed across a service desk. And to keep the casino's own cameras from recording what changed hands, the inquiry heard, the cash was handled under cover, a blanket draped over the counter to obscure the CCTV. Sit with how strange that is. A billion-dollar system, protected not by encryption or vaults or armed guards, but by a blanket thrown over a countertop. Low-tech. A blanket. That's all it took. Step 5. The paper trail. Now stack it up. Over 6 years, 2013 to 2019, the inquiry heard that roughly 900 million Australian dollars, about 621 million US, moved through this system. And in the casino's own records, almost none of it read as gambling. It read as hotel bills. That's the entire trick, not hiding the money, relabeling it. A number that big leaves fingerprints, and every cent still had to be explained to the casino's bank. Let me put you inside a single night, reconstructed from the casino's own records. A high roller arrives. His China UnionPay card has already been run inside the hotel tens of thousands of dollars, logged not as bets, but as a room charge. Then the cooler bags come in soft blue esky bags, carried by hand and set on a service desk. As the cash is counted and passed across, a blanket is laid over the counter, so the CCTV can't capture what's changing hands. Think about how ordinary every piece of that is. A bank card, a hotel charge, a cooler bag, a blanket. Nothing on that list looks like a crime. Put them in the right order, inside a room no one can see, and together they move a fortune and leave a paper trail that says, "Hotel guest." Who notices a fortune that never looks like money? By 2019, OSTRAC, the financial crimes regulator, whose whole job is to spot money that doesn't move like money should, had the casino in its sights. This is the agency that had just forced a record penalty out of one of the country's biggest banks. Its method is boring and lethal. It doesn't chase rumors. It lines up the paperwork. And the same records that hid the money were exactly what its examiners could set side by side. And the clock was running. Every month the scheme kept operating, added another line to a ledger that would one day be read back in an inquiry. An examiner only had to pull one thread, the guest whose hotel bill was bigger than any hotel bill could be, and the whole disguise would come apart. The room didn't stay secret because it was clever. It stayed secret because, for years, no one with the power to ask the hard questions did. That changed with the Bell inquiry set up to examine whether the Star was fit to hold a casino license. And here's the irony. Investigators didn't need a bug or an informant. They went back through the casino's own documents, internal emails, transaction logs, and rebuilt the entire flow from the paper the business had generated itself. The same records that made the money look like hotel bills became the map that exposed it. And out of those files, a detail surfaced that had never been public before the name of the room. Salon 95. Then the hits landed. ASIC alleged the union pay arrangement had done exactly what it looked like, disguised gambling as hotel spend. Then it spread beyond the casino's walls. The same regulator alleged the casino's own bank, National Australia Bank, had been handed a misleading account of what those transactions really were. And then the biggest one, a separate OSTRAC case, alleging anti-money laundering failures on a scale that threatened the license itself. Those claims are still before the court, still unproven, alleged, not decided. But the questions about the people who ran the place, those did get answered. In March 2026, the federal court found that two of the Star's most senior former executives had breached their duties. Not a criminal conviction, a civil finding. They failed to act with the care and diligence the law required. Then in June 2026, the penalties landed. The former chief executive, Matthias Beckier, was ordered to pay 700,000 Australian dollars, around 480,000 US, and banned from managing companies for 6 years. And in a detail that says a lot about where responsibility landed, the former chief legal officer, Paula Martin, was banned even longer. 7 years, with a penalty of 400,000 Australian dollars, about 276,000 US. The company's most senior lawyer got the longer ban. As for the junket side, Alvin Chau, the Sun City boss we met earlier, is the one person in this whole story who actually ended up behind bars. In January 2023, a Macau court sentenced him to 18 years for illegal gambling and running a criminal organization, a term upheld on final appeal. Now go back to 2022. And it isn't OSTRAC that opens the room that case is still running. It's the Bell inquiry, the license probe, sitting in public session. The card logs are open. Counsel assisting lines the accommodation ledger up against the transaction records and the numbers don't fit. A hotel guest can't spend this. Nobody can. The story falls apart in a single afternoon. And there, in the record, for the first time in public, is the name. Salon 95. So how do you move almost $1 billion through a casino without a single transaction ever looking like gambling? You don't hide it. You rename it. You swipe a bank card and call it a hotel bill. You carry the cash in a picnic cooler. You lay a blanket over a camera. And you do it inside a room that isn't on the map, so that for 6 years, the most obvious question, what is actually happening in there, is one nobody thinks to ask. The real question isn't how they built a room no one could see. It's how many others are still standing that no one has thought to look for yet.